Okay, welcome back, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. How are we doing this morning? Let's hear it. Post in the chat. How you doing? Outstanding. Never better. Hopefully doing a little better than that second day, I believe it was, when I gave you a daily check-in, and we had a couple 1s and 2s on there. I hope you're doing better this morning. We're tired. Yes, I hear ya. Okay. Is there anything that any students would like to bring up at the start of class this morning before we go over that homework that we had last night? Any final attacks? If you haven't submitted your homework yet, please make sure that you do. I have had a couple people reach out to me. The best way that if you want to get a hold of me after hours, after class, give me a call on that office phone number. That is going to forward straight to my cell phone, even during after hours. And I will probably try to pick up if I can and I'm not asleep. But I did have a couple people call me last night and ask for help. Love it. Here to help you. So if you were struggling, please give me a call. I will hopefully be able to help you out. For tonight's homework, since what I'm seeing a lot of our students struggle in is the math and equations part of our homework. I know that that is a new topic for a lot of you, and it can be hard to find which right equation it can be. My job as an instructor here is to help you find those resources and help you understand why we're using them. So for tonight's homework, at the end of class, I'm going to do a 1 hour, why 1 hour, we'll hopefully keep it at office hours for everybody to help complete homework number 3, which is very math intensive. Today, you're going to be learning from Mr. Muller about scheduling and how to calculate your scheduling availability rates. Why do we want to do something like that? Well, when we are in requirements and optimization, part of our job is to identify requirements, which we now kind of know how to do with our builder program, our next gen IT work management system. We have our asset or activity management plans that we're using to identify requirements. But now we need to optimize our resources. We need to make sure we're spending our right money. We need to make sure we're doing the right materials, and we need to schedule our craftsmen's time appropriately. So that's what tonight's homework is going to be all about. And we are going to figure this out together. So I'm going to offer office hours tonight. I do have a question. Is it possible to do them correctly and still get the wrong answer? I got some right, but another one, I got the answer choices, was having a wrong one. I assume maybe plugging the wrong info in the wrong spot. You know what? I'm not sure. It's a Canvas automated quiz. So if you think that you're getting something wrong, you think something is graded incorrectly, let me know. And I can manually adjust stuff if it is truly incorrect, but usually the answers are right. So work with me. I'll work with you. All right. Let's go ahead and get started on this homework review. I will share my screen for you. And hopefully that's a better quality for everybody here. Can everybody see that? Is that big enough? We have a hot mic on, and Tech Sergeant White, I think I see you brushing your teeth. So if you could, reminder, please turn off your webcam and check that you are muted, and hopefully we all can get back into Zoom Gov. All right, can I get a confirmation that you can see my screen and it's clear for you on the chat here? Clear? Perfect. Okay, so this homework, actually a little bit average score lower than the previous homeworks. I was not expecting that as the instructor. So let's go over a couple of these questions that I know people got tripped up on. We did have a low score of 45. So if you're scoring down here at the bottom end of this curve, let's talk and let's make sure that you're going to be successful for tonight's homework. If you are on a completely different time zone and you want office hours, but you're like, man, I really can't stay up another hour after this class, I just want to go to bed. Let's work together and talk to me, send me an email, give me a call, and let's schedule something outside of that. Okay, average time it took people was about 1 hour and 45 minutes. Again, I try to make all of my homeworks between 1 and 2 hours. So I'd say we're doing okay for time. All right, let's get into the first question. The infrastructure investment strategy, sometimes called the I2S, not the 1-2S. I'll have to update that unless it's weird font. Set a goal of investing a programmed budget level minimum of blank of a right-sized plant replacement value for capital investment each year. So most of you got that correct. My purpose of asking you questions like this is I want you to download and look at this infrastructure investment strategy. This is our bread and butter as to why we're doing this, because we're trying to get that 2% of replacement value from Congress. And that's what's going to help us sustain the massive amounts of infrastructure we're expected to sustain. And guess what? Every single general right here agrees with us that we are not investing enough money into our infrastructure, and they understand that this is a huge deal. Maybe not today, but in 20, 30 years, this is going to bite us in the rear end. So that's why we're doing this. This is how it's all laid out. I need you to understand why we're doing this and what we're trying to get to. And then I want you to know what we are actually going to be doing here. What does this mean? What are the things that we're trying to accomplish? And what are the lines of effort that we are working on? So if you can tie things to this I2S, it's going to make your, it's going to be a justification for funding, for manpower, for a lot of things in our squadron. And I need you to be familiar with this document. So if this is your first time seeing it, great. Please save it to your desktop and use it, take it back to your squadron, and make sure all of your airmen, all of your teammates have reviewed this document and know why we're putting such a harp on these asset management principles, okay? All right, not that one, this one. Question number 2. Again, most of you got that right. 5%, the infrastructure investment strategy sets a goal to reduce total facility square footage by 5% in 20 years through divestment, demolition, conversion, and consolidation. I know we've seen a lot of divestment strategies before, and we haven't stuck to them. So I really hope we do stick to this one, because we have a lot of space. Hopefully, with all the new telework agreements that we are able to use, that means less square footage that we need for admin and office spaces, and it will make our jobs a lot easier in CE if we have less to maintain. So, okay, this one from the X-Plan lesson. The X-Plan captures only 1, not 2. So blank, not blank funding. This was super missed, and this was because of those slides, and I wanted to throw it out, but I think this is a very, very important concept for you, especially in RNO, and especially if you're working with the ops flight, understanding that the X plan is what is decentralized, not centralized. And the only reason I'm not going to throw this out is because I was very, very clear in class, in senior crossweights class. I was very clear during our homework review that this is what the answer was supposed to be. So if you're paying attention in class, you should have gotten that one. And you got to know the difference between decentralized and centralized funding, because one of them you have to request every penny for, and hopefully you get it, and then you get to spend it however you want. And the other one, the centralized pot, which is what the AF camp does, is you have to compete for that funding, and they tell you how to spend your money. So are there any questions? I know the slide said both, Sergeant Allison. I know it said both. We definitely went over that in class, and I talked about it in the class with senior crossweight, and we talked about this, and then I talked about it at the end, and I even brought up slide number 8 is going to confuse you, but this is what the intent is for that. I know. That's okay. Y'all did pretty well regardless, but if you ever have a question, give me a call and hopefully I can clarify it for you. If you don't like the way my questions are worded, please give me a call and let me help you figure it out. All right. Okay. So according to the Material Control Playbook, UFixit is a CE program that covers work for simple tasks that the facility manager can accomplish and does not require any special tools, materials, or training. True. That is the definition of UFixit. We no longer have the self-help program where squadrons are renovating their entire office without us. That's just not true. We've moved to a UFixit program. You can learn all about it in the Material Control Playbook. And hopefully, all of the tasks that they're asking for UFixit are very, simple tasks. Things like replacing ceiling tiles, toilet rims, small paint jobs, less than 200 square feet. You can learn all about it in the playbook. All right, next question. Select all of the execution methods owned by the ops flight that Master Sergeant Watchus talked about. For this one, oh, I didn't have my slides up. Let me pull it up for you. Not work closeout. Work execution methods. Straight from his slide deck. Operation flight methods. Operation flight methods. I think he had an easy one that was organized better, but yeah, understanding from the lesson that he taught, we have all of the operations flight methods clearly labeled for our use. Does MAC count as it's listed as mixed? You know what? That's a really good question. What does everyone else think? That's why I chose MAC. You know what? I will go ahead and review that question. Master Watchers, what do you think? Do you think MAC should count as an ops flight method? Do you want to give them points back for that one?
Yeah, we'll go ahead and get points back for that one. It is a mixed method, right? It can be both ops and or engineering. So
okay. All right. Woohoo. Good. I will make sure that I manually update that question for you guys. I already graded a lot of the homework, so don't look at the score that we currently have, and I will give you points if you added one of these mixed methods, okay? Thanks for bringing that up. All right. Next Gen IT allows you to input and track warranty information. Yes, perfect. Y'all did great on that one. And the reason we want you to know that is because we want you to start using it. So now that you know it, you know, maybe try to track some warranty information in Next Gen IT. Okay, here's where we got a little sticky, is in the AFCAMP business rules and being familiar with the AFCAMP business rules. So remember how I talked about that not every single project is going to be able to compete on the AFCAMP floor. What is the correct answer here that would have made something compete? What do y'all think? Flip them. Yep, you got it, Mr. Craig. Swap them. That's right. So the sustainment repair projects limit is actually 2 million, and the restoration and modernization repair projects is actually 1 million. So if you found that in the AFI or in the AFCAMP business rules, it should have been pretty clear. Maybe if you made a best guess, you might have not gotten that right because it looks really similar, but I need you to know these program limits because we need to know what the best option is for us to get work done. And if you're trying to compete stuff on the AFCAMP that isn't even eligible, you're wasting a lot of time and a lot of effort. Okay. Using the facilities guidance in the FY 23 through 27 AFCAMP business rules, a component with an SMS builder condition index of 75 would have a probability of failure score of what? So again, not to confuse y'all, when we go back to the slides, and you can review the video as well, if you were confused about these slides, because I see where maybe some people put the wrong thing, is that previously, the AFCAMP business rules were structured like this on worst first, where the probability of failure score was just a 100 minus the condition index times 2, which is no longer the case, right? We are not just doing 75 minus or 100 minus 75 times 2 or anything like that. 100 minus 75, we're not doing that for our business rules anymore. We are now looking for a return on investment and trying to target things that are in the sweet spot. So if the condition index is between 60 and 80, the probability of failure score should be 100. Good question, Master Sergeant. Let's get to that one next. So a lot of you got that right, but some of you were a little confused about which numbers to use. You know, our slides, we went over in our slides, and it's also in the business rules if you had questions. Okay, so for the next one, right? Yeah, sometimes it's a little hard to understand these equations, but for the next one though, we're not in that sweet spot, right? So which equation are we going to use? Are we going to use, I'll make this bigger for everybody. Which equation are we going to use? Are we going to use the one if the condition index is greater than 80? Are we greater than 80? Nope, we're lower than 60 here. So our probability of failure should be 80 plus 47 times 1/3. And if you do this math right, 80 plus 47 times 1/3, you should come up with 95.7, which kind of makes sense, right? Oh, I gotta know. Does that not make sense? Airman Torres? Yes, it does. Perfect. Okay, good. I don't want to confuse you, but you know, when we're looking at this and we see a low condition index, what are we expecting? Are we expecting a low probability of failure or a high probability of failure? High probability of failure. Yes. Yeah, sometimes the rounding is an issue too, but yeah, if something has a low condition index score, it's going to have a high probability of failure score. That's because if it's in bad condition, it's probably going to fail. And that probability of failure is the probability that you're going to have a failure is really, really high. So when you're looking at the sweet spot, if something's in the sweet spot at the component level, the probability of failure would be 100. But if it's lower than that, you have to look at the equations, or if it's higher than that, you have to look at the equations to figure it out. So remember that for your final exam on which equation you're going to be using if I ask you to calculate the probability of failure. Okay, and then this one was really tough, right? So this last one was calculate a utility condition index score. So this one was tough because you had to look through the business rules to find how we calculate utility index, which why do you think I would want to ask you a question like this? Does anyone have any idea as to why I specifically focused on utilities and how to calculate the condition of a utilities line? OMG, Sergeant Johnson, what do you think? Why do you think I did this? Because you can't see utilities, true. Anyone else? What else? What have you learned about Builder? It's independent of SMS. That's correct. Yeah, so we don't track utilities in Builder. So we don't get a condition index score from Builder on our utilities. We have to manually calculate it. And usually what I would probably recommend is you go and you work with the technicians and engineers who work with these systems all the time. They're the ones who are going to have this data about how many breaks and outages you've had in the past 5 years. They're going to have the ones that have the information to calculate the condition index score. So when you have to calculate it manually, you can follow the rules. When you pull up the AFCAMP business rules, right, I always recommend looking at the table of contents just to make sure you can find what you're looking for. Much easier than, reading the entire document. You don't really want to do that. So I was looking at utilities guidance, determine utilities condition index right here. Go ahead and click that and it takes me right to the area that I need to go to. So to determine the UCI for an appropriate situation using the utilities scoring sheet guidance, which thank you, Ashton, what is your, Miss McLaughlin, she called me and said, hey, I can't get this to work. So I uploaded it as an attached document on your homework. So whether this link worked or not, you should have been able to get to this sheet right here. Oh, go back. I downloaded it for you and it was on your homework right here. Boom. So you didn't need CAC access to actually get to it. Oh, that's why I can't find it. And this is the guidance, right? So when you look at the direct condition rating, it actually has a score that you get based on what the direct condition rating that your sub-amp managers or maybe your facility condition assessment team can help you determine what that water line should really be. And we're looking at water score tables. We weren't looking at wastewater and stormwater. So that's another thing to make sure that you were looking at the right table. But I gave you this number right here. I said it, what did I say? I said that it has a direct condition rating of 6, right? So we're here. That means that it's a red plus, not doing too great. And then I said it had a remaining service life of 30%. So you look at this table and you get your RUL, remaining useful life score, and that's a 2. And then you look at the water line breakages or outages per 5 years. And I said we had 3 to 5 breaks or outages per 1,000 linear feet over the past 5 years. So you also had a failure score of 2. So once you got your failure score, your RUL score, and your direct condition rating, you should have had all of the information you needed to answer this question. And I don't know, let me see if I can go and find the description, because when you submit your homework, you should get details. Sorry, 1 second. You should get the details. Nope. Show question details. Yeah, you should have seen these details that specifically talk you through where I found this information and what the equation was. So once you have the direct condition rating, which I gave you, the RL score, which came from this table right here, RUL score, and the failure score, you had everything you needed to calculate this equation. You plug everything in, boom, 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 and I got 40. So did anyone else find something? It was right after class that I did that. So if you're not finding things, I really hope y'all are giving me some information, giving me a call. That is the best way to reach me. Obviously, I can't answer my phone while I'm here in the studio, but I should be available if you want to come on the mic. So this is how you're supposed to answer that question. And that's the last question I have for you. So I know there's a lot of people probably upset about that. That's okay. We are going to do our best to get you the information that you need for this class. And for those of you who are taking advantage of that, thank you very much. For those of you who maybe need a little bit of extra assistance, that's totally fine. I hope to see you tonight on the office hours right after class. And I hope if that doesn't work for you, let's talk and we can schedule something outside of that. What can we expect in the final exam? Is it similar to the homework? Yes, it is kind of similar to the homework. I'm not going to throw anything new at you. Basically, everything from your homework is what's going to be on the exam. So you'll have questions that are similar to the homework. I guess the only thing that's on the exam that we haven't done in homework is questions from the first couple of lessons about asset management in general and maybe the R&O lesson. But I will go ahead and stop sharing my screen here. And Katie, if I can get the background back, perfect, thank you. So for the final exam, it will be similar to the homework, but I'm not expecting something like this last question. It's going to be more like the probability of failure score calculations and things like that I'm going to ask you to calculate. You'll have 2 hours to do the final exam. It is open book and open note. You can review any of the videos or slideshows or any of the playbooks that we've given to you to answer those questions. You just can't talk to each other about the final exam. So that's my only caveat. How many questions are on the exam? Do I have somebody on the mic?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
I put a comment and I actually typed it wrong. I put, why would the probability of failure for a component with a CI of 75 be lower? I meant higher than a component with one that was lower. So the component that had a higher CI actually had a higher probability of failure according to the answers.
Yeah. So why would we want to do something like that? Sweet spot. Correct.
No, I get the sweet spot, but isn't the one with a lower condition index going to have a higher probability of failure?
Technically, when we're doing a worst first investment model, yes, that's what would make sense, right? But if I gave you the chance to, if I said, hey, I have a piece of equipment that's in the sweet spot, or I have a piece of equipment that is worse off, but it's failed, which one do you want to invest in?
Okay, so it's not necessarily which one does have a higher probability of failure, it's which one do you want to put more money toward?
Yes, it's an investment strategy. So this is why I have beef with this scoring model, because I don't like it, because it's not risk-based and we're not calculating the probability of failure in the correct way per academia. And, you know, all of my master's degree, it just out the window. Well, I'm not hurt. It's fine. But yes, so that's why it can be really confusing. But the reason why they're doing that is because they're trying to target the right investments, which the right investments we know should be corrective maintenance in the sweet spot is going to give us a return on investment that will extend the life of our assets. And we want to prioritize that. So that's why we're doing something like that. And that's why probability of failure is how they are deciding to calculate it and how they name it. Think of it as a naming convention more than an actual probability.
Yeah, I got you. And I'd heard you mention that before or whatever, but when it actually scored that way, it didn't make sense. But I think I got hung up on probability of failure, which is maybe the wrong.
Right. That's exactly what I want you to figure out here in this class. And I want you to be critically thinking about in this class and not be questioning this when it comes to the AF camp. This is a great way to practice and have discussions about these topics. You know, we have our academic freedom, and if you don't like it, you know, we'd love to hear about it, and we'd love to have discussions and help you understand why they're doing it, whether or not we enjoy it or not, you know, but if you are really enjoying it and you see a huge benefit, please let us know as well, because That's the kind of discussions that we like to have here in our classes. So I appreciate that question a lot. But it's an investment strategy decision that AFCEC is making to prioritize corrective maintenance in the sweet spot rather than risk-based. I got a couple of questions, 24 questions on final exam. Yep, for those of you not checking the chat, it'll be, I think it's 50 points. So again, you have to get 70% on it, just like the homework, but you'll probably have less calculation questions. They're more just straight from the slides. What did this say? Is there a way to rig the system towards putting money into facilities in the sweet spot? How many AFCEC members do we have on the line right now? I'm just kidding. So yeah, no, that's actually a huge concern about using the sweet spot is if you're creating a project that happens to score really well, is the work actually corrective maintenance, or are you replacing everything in the sweet spot and we're actually wasting money? I think whatever AFCEC gives us, there are going to be bases that are going to try and game the system to get the incentives that they need. But really and truly, the incentives are there to help us have better quality data and make better investment decisions. And the purpose behind the investments and the incentives are correct. We should be investing in corrective maintenance in the sweet spot because that extends the life of our assets. Does that mean that people are adding and taking things away on their project scoring worksheet to just get the project funded? Probably. And I think that that's maybe not the right thing to do, but that is an opportunity if you know how things score really well that you could be smart about. No, I was answering the question of why it scores that way. Oh, my bad. Answering the question. Yes, people can rig the system. I ask you not to. We're here to make good investment decisions. So that's the best I can do for that. Are there any other questions about homework? I'm already over my time and into Mr. Muller's time, so I want to give the floor to him. All right. Any other questions? Please let me know. We're going to do office hours after this class. Mr. Muller, are you on the line with us, sir?
I am. Can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear. Do you want to go ahead and share your screen and make sure that your slides are up and working?